Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am using the Life in Pictures, which is a free file available at the Paper Issues store. Also, you can get anything in the Paper Issues store for 20% off if you use the code Orange Girl. Today I am working with PinkFresh Studio's My Favorite Story collection, which is a fun collection. It's really kind of springy, but I am using it for this winter layout. As you can see, I've already printed out my photos, the size of that film strip cut file, and I sized the file and the photos so that the photos are about, I think they're like 2 3/4 by 2 inches or something like that, 2 inches tall by 2 3/4 or 2 1/4 the other way, I think. And then I set up my um, Silhouette Studio software so that it would cut the cut file the same length. I went ahead and I used vellum behind my photo or behind my film strip, just to give the photos a little bit of a house to sit on, but also to separate it from the background, which I'm doing with my photo here as well. Sometimes I use tissue paper. Most of the time I use tissue paper, but I had this vellum and I thought I would just use that to give it just a little bit more um, tooth, I guess. So here I am, and I'm just trying to decide what I want to do as far as embellishing the layout. The only thing I had kind of established ahead of time was that I wanted to use the film strip, and I wanted to use this rainbow paper. The reason that I wanted to use this rainbow paper is because this day I'm with my daughter and my other daughter and her two sons, my grandsons, and they really built a snowman, and all of the things that are on the snowman are rainbow. So if you can see the photo in close up, which you will be able to towards the end, the buttons on the snowman are rainbow, the scarf is rainbow, etc. So I thought this rainbow paper, although the intention is probably for spring, I thought it fit the layout really well, because they were kind of softer colors. I just really liked it. So I went through the 6x6 paper pad and I am cutting out some snowflakes using a punch. And I'm just going to go ahead and attach all of those. And I went with the same color as my background. So I'm just kind of putting all of those snowflakes on top of the same color. And that really worked. I like the way this worked out. And I'm doing the edge. I'm kind of going off the edge a little bit. And then my film strip will kind of fit over part of them as well. So they're just kind of peeking out behind the film strip when I get done here, and then peeking over the edge a little bit of my layout. So once I get those all laid down or laid out, then I'll be honest, like what I didn't show on camera was I started by using all the beautiful flowers there's a pack that you can get of ephemera that are just floral ephemera. And I started by laying those over on the side because they come in all of the pretty colors. Um, and then I'm like, why am I going to put flowers on this layout? I want to use those flowers for a different layout. So I will just put those aside, and I'm going to use my paper punches to punch out some snowflakes, and I like the way that it turned out. So I wanted to add some pops of black and white throughout the page. I really love either a really colorful layout with pops of black and white or a black and white layout with pops of color. I just like the contrast of all of that. And so I decided that I would add some black and white striped paper behind my photo. And I'm going through and I'm just making some more snowflakes because I really want to add a few over on the right side of my photo just to kind of tie it all together. And I felt like that kind of gave it a home, so that big photo wasn't just out in the middle of nowhere. It kind of gave it a little bit of a home. So also included in the collection, if you choose to purchase this collection also has these chipboard circles that have little sayings on them, or little designs on them. So like I'm using the pink heart. I use a yellow one that says remember this. and I use a blue one that says Weekend Vibes, which all fit with my layout. And I put them all on the same color as the striped background. So I'm sticking with that color to color. Then there's another one that says Better Together that's over on the right side of my photo, just to kind of, once again, kind of tie it all together. The Happy is one of the ephemera pieces that come in the regular ephemera pack, and so I decided to go ahead and use that, and I kind of did a play on words and did Snow Happy. The kids were so excited to come over and go out and play in the snow. We had a relatively warm day considering that it was winter, and we had just had enough snow that it was and it was perfect snow, like really wet snow. So it was perfect for building a snowman. So when the boys came over, well, when my daughter called and they decided they were going to come over for a little while, I was like, bring snow gear because we're going to go outside. And it was so much fun to watch Hunter, who is 3 and has been outside in the snow, but not so much this year. And so he doesn't remember it all that well because he's only 3. And so it was just fun to watch Hunter in the snow. And then Bryson, who's getting big enough now to really help with the snowman, he and B had such a good time working together. So the other thing that I'm adding over on the left, just to add some more texture, is I am adding a few of the snowflakes kind of on top of the other snowflakes and kind of overlapping the top side of that film strip a little bit. And then I grabbed a bunch of thread and in the various colors, and I'm putting the thread kind of on top of the snowflakes and underneath the film strip just to add just more texture. I just really like the way that looks, and I add it over to the snowflakes over on the right too when I end up putting those down. So I will also add some journaling to this, and my journaling will say, Holly Ann and the boys came over for a few hours and we took advantage of the recent snow. The kids enjoyed building a snowman, digging holes, and a little sledding. And so we did a whole bunch of things. I got a lot of photos that day, so I imagine that there'll be some other layouts related to this day. I think actually I've already done one. That may or may not be live. I'm not sure. Can't remember. But anyway, yeah. So I really like the way this one turned out. When I saw the black group photo that I have there on the group photo, I was like, that's kind of part of what made me use the collection. The idea that I had that, and I knew I could use the big group photo, and then the fact that the colors were rainbow. Like I was just like, oh, I just love it. So I'm just kind of playing with trying to decide if I want the journaling above the photo or below the photo, and if I want the title above the photo or below the photo. So I'm just kind of going back and forth and playing with that a little bit. I also added a little circle that is a heart that is in the ephemera pack that's black. I like the way it adds another pop of black up there at the top. I did pop that up on a piece of foam adhesive. So the other thing that I'm going to do here over on the right is I'm going to add a little bit more of that striped paper, and then I'm going to do what I do all the time, which is do some ripping. So a lot of times if I know I'm going to rip the whole side like this, I just glue the strip down first and then do the ripping, and then that way it's really easy to keep it at 12 by 12. If you rip first, then you've got to figure out how to keep it at 12 by 12. So that worked out. Let's see. So, what else do I have to tell you? That's about it, really. This is a little bit longer video because it took a while to add all of those. I tried to leave as much of it in as possible. I try all the time to leave as much of it in as possible. I did cut out some of the cutting of the snowflakes just because I thought, oh my goodness, they don't really need to see all of that. You get the idea. But so I'm just kind of going back and forth here, adding some thread. And on this side, I'm adding the thread more underneath the snowflakes rather than on top of the snowflakes. No reason really, just doing it in that order on this side. And it still looks good and it still matches enough that I like the way that it looked. So Anyway, so one of the last things that I end up doing here is there are tons of enamel dots that come in this collection that match, of course, all of the colors. So I do go through and put some enamel dots in some of the snowflakes, not all of them. And when I'm doing that, I can't remember if I do that on camera or off camera or just partially. Um, I'm doing this voiceover, but I made this layout a while ago, so I kind of forget some of the stuff that I did. But anyway, so yeah, as I'm doing this voiceover today, it is nearly 60 degrees and it is a beautiful day out. We had the windows open for a little while. Very different than the day that these photos were taken, which it wasn't that cold that day, but it had been, we'd had snow days and there had been some chilly days. So usually I like to put like this circle here. I wanted to give it a little home, so I put a little thread behind that as well. And then it's another thing I do. Also off camera, so on when I first grabbed this layout, or started grabbing things to put on this layout, one of the things I grabbed was this little die cut that says "Life is Good," and I added some foam adhesive behind it, and I also added, oh, you see that heart piece? Okay, so that piece of ephemera that's all hearts, that was like the thing that kind of made me pull out this collection. Um, I loved that and I wanted to use that heart on this layout because these are my hearts, right? And it's the whole rainbow thing and all of that. And then I don't end up using it. But back to the other piece of ephemera. So it said "Life is Good" and it was blue and it was supposed to go under "Snow Happy." And so I spent forever looking for it because I had gotten it all prepped and ready. I added a couple of these little dots to it and enamel dots, and I popped it up on some adhesive. I did that off camera, and then when it came down to gluing it down, I could not find it. So in a minute here, you're going to see me kind of go off camera. Actually, I might have shut the camera off, and I finally find it. It took me forever to find it so that I could glue that thing back on. But so I do add quite a few little enamel dots, and I am gluing them down because two reasons. Mainly because I had taken them off and kind of tried them out and then put them back on the piece of plastic. And when I did that, I used some of that sticky, so they weren't sticking very well anymore. And then the other reason is because with it being with the thread and all of that, they just did not want to stick. So I did glue them down with my adhesive, my liquid adhesive there. I kind of went crazy with the enamel dots, but I don't care. I like the way that it looked. I didn't like this right here. So the Snow Happy, I felt like my title was just kind of hanging out there. And I didn't really like the space between snow and the film strip. And so I'm messing around with my title here, trying to figure out how I can make it so I don't have all that space. But the H on happy, I don't know, I didn't like the way that it was overlapping the S either. I didn't like the way it looked. So what I do is I take some tangled thread and I'm pulling up the photo, pulling up the film strip a little bit, and I'm putting it kind of underneath my S and my N and the picture. And I mean, like, I was super thread happy here, but I kind of like, especially in person, I don't know if you can tell it so much in the pictures, but in person it made a huge difference to me anyway. Like, that space wasn't just empty. And I don't mind empty space, but in this case I didn't like the space where the space was. I just didn't like it. So anyway, now I'm trying to add a butterfly because I do have my daughter in this photo, and so I kind of went back and forth between different, I cut out several of them or punched out several different colors. I end up going with, I think, this pink one, and I do put it over right there on the right. And then, so then, like I said here, once I figure that out where that's going to go, then I'm like, wait a minute, where is that "Life is Good"? I can't find it. And so I turn off my camera, I think, and I go find the Life is Good. There it is. And then I put that butterfly up there. So that is my layout. I am super excited about this one. This was fun to make. It did take me a while just because of all the punching and decision making, but I like the way that it turned out, and the memory is housed in my album. Oh, let's be real, it's not really in my album. It's on a shelf right now, but eventually it will be in an album. So there you can see the thread a little bit closer, and some of the snowflakes. So thanks a lot for stopping by, and I will see you again real soon.